You're watching Making Star Wars on YouTube. I hope you brought a cigar. So if you don't like spoilers, check out of this video. There's going to be spoilers in it. And it pertains to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, the one after The Last Jedi, the last one. Anyways, today we're going to fill in a little bit more on the end of the beginning. So the very, very first scene in the movie, right after the opening crawl, we ran a video on it yesterday. And on the video yesterday, I said, after the opening crawl, we pan from space. The camera moves towards a planet covered in trees. We see a blue lightsaber dueling a green lightsaber in the distance. Both of the lightsabers are held in hand by two Jedi with white helmets and visors covering their faces, so we cannot immediately recognize if this is Rey and someone new. The two Jedi break from their duel and remove their helmets and reveal Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa, looking exactly the age they did in Return of the Jedi on Endor's moon. The movie begins with a flashback. So that was the important thing. The movie, basically, we get the opening crawl, obviously a space pan, and then we're taken down to the surface of this jungle planet where two Jedi are lightsaber fighting, and they take off their helmets, and it's young Luke and Leia from Return of the Jedi. And the new piece of information that I gathered from a source after putting that out was exactly how the scene goes and how it transitions. So I'm told that the reason the training is halted is at the opening scene. Luke Skywalker realizes that something's wrong, or something has changed in Leia. Something's different. And he questions her, and then she confides in Luke that she's going to be a mother. And this is the moment Luke Skywalker realizes that Ben Solo's coming. And, you know, obviously everything's going to be different after that. So, what happens next? Off screen on a voiceover, supposedly we hear a voiceover shouting, "Master Leia." And then that's Rey. And so Rey sort of cuts the flashback short by pretty much waking General Leia, or Master Leia, out of her daydream or her flashback. And then this is a little bit of conjecture on my part, but I'm gonna guess that they discuss some of that maybe, and about what Rey has to do, but that's conjecture. We do have that sequence in the trailer where they are holding each other, they're hugging, and that could be from when Rey goes off to, you know, go on her journey, but it could also be the end of that sequence as well, or during that sequence. So it's worth noting. Another caveat worth noting is that about a month ago they were doing filming in Black Park. I'd say this was probably about four weeks ago, maybe. Yeah, I think about 4 weeks ago. And filming was being conducted in Black Park, and that's like right near Pinewood. It's this park it's doubled for everything in these movies. You know, it was Octu at one point. It's that park is going to have a lot of Star Wars history, and when all is said and done. That said, they were filming in the location where Leia and Rey have their training scene. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean it affects the flashback stuff at all. From what I could recall, the flashback stuff, when I first heard of it from Pinewood sources, it had to do with, or it was on the lot, and it was a secret lot and a secret set, and Octu was secret, and then there was the paddock set, and then there was like the Death Star stuff. So all of that stuff was kind of like more secretive. You know, meaning like you couldn't just, it wasn't meant to be open. So anyways, I like what the sequence could mean, because basically we open with Leia's character, and she's not the main character, so that is a bit strange in certain ways, certain aspects. But the Star Wars movies don't always start with the main characters anyways, you know, they start with Darth Vader sometimes. But you can make the argument he's the main character of the 6, but you know what I mean. He's not Luke Skywalker. Anyways, I like that, like in like 1983, we always imagine like, what's the next movie going to be? How are you going to do this without the Emperor? Does the Emperor come back? What does that mean? How are they going to do that? And we still don't have all of those answers. We have these like real like complicated things like Rey and Kylo Ren being this dyad, and sort of these like components is what it sounds like anyways. And, you know, the negative and the positive, and the Emperor is going to recharge himself off of these things and stuff like that. So that stuff's like what they're saying is happening in the film. It's the understanding anyways, but I think it might be more complex. I don't know what to think of that stuff yet. But it does say this movie is about Rey, and it's about Ben Solo. It's about bringing Ben Solo back and bringing Rey into the fold. And I like that, like, ultimately Rey isn't just somebody who the writers said, you know, she's a Skywalker, you know, Luke Skywalker knocked boots with somebody, and now this is the new Skywalker. You have to accept it. It is what it is. It's the best. Instead, I feel like if Episode 9 does its job and if it pulls off the film, Rey's going to earn that place. Rey's going to, you know, she's going to earn the Skywalker title, because the rumor is that she's Palpatine's granddaughter. And nobody wants to be Palpatine's granddaughter. I don't think so anyways. And after you've defeated that evil, and it's everything that, you know, you are against, I mean, I'm sure there's people with the last name Hitler still, but I've never met, like, you know, hey, here's Juan Hitler. That's never happened. You know, it just doesn't happen. So her losing that name, I would lose the Palpatine name if, you know, I was a Palpatine relative. I think most of them would in the end. And so all of that together, it makes sense that she would say, I'm not that. I'm not going to accept that legacy. And that she would take on the Skywalker mantle. Now, one of the rumors that I've heard is that it, you know, I talked in a previous article, but not in a video, that Harrison Ford is in this movie. And one of the things I do firmly believe is that Harrison Ford filmed on this film. And he appears to Kylo Ren as a ghost of sorts. Pretty big, right? But I've also heard that Rey's parents appear as ghosts as well. And I don't have many details on how that works. The only thing that we actually have heard so far is that Rey's parents are murdered by this Sith blade. And it doesn't really like lend itself to opening up much. And I do wonder if these reshoots have anything to do with it. I do wonder if Matt Smith is the murderer of the parents, or is Matt Smith the father? Or is somehow Matt Smith Benedict Cumberbatch of this movie, like how he was for The Force Awakens? But at the same time, once again, to go back to the Matt Smith thing I can't put down, we heard it from Pinewood sources. The trades reported it. Disney.com in foreign markets from the United States reported it as well, and then took it off their site really quickly. So I think there's something there, and, you know, I'm curious if Matt Smith is filming anything in these current reshoots or not. But we have a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of interesting things to talk about, and some more subtle moments in the film that I want to try to take apart. And, you know, these are the rumors. If you don't like them, like, that sucks, or sorry, but, you know, like, I'm not writing the movie, so I can't just tell you what you want to hear. I just have to tell you what I'm hearing. So if you don't like that Rise of Skywalker, you know, sorry, or that she takes the name, or that she's a Palpatine, or any of that stuff, I mean, I honestly do feel like almost no matter what the answer is, it's not going to be good enough for everyone or a lot of people. And there's so many sub cultures within the Star Wars fandom itself that I don't think it can please everyone, no matter what they do. So, like I said, her being a Palpatine and then throwing that off and embracing the Skywalker name, there's a bit more agency and power in that, I think. And that's more interesting to me. But at the same time, you know, like, there was this, I think, innate desire by many fans that she was this, like, you know, secret child. And those rumors, they still are going around. But there's all this noise, and we're just trying to filter out what's legit, what we think is legit, and what's not. And right now, this current round of rumors that I've been reporting on seem like the most legit. And they seem to connect to the things people like Jedi Paxis was hearing, and the stuff that Bespin Bulletin has been reporting. And so I'm a little bit more on the side of, like, this stuff is probably going to pan out. But the one thing I will always say, and I think this is the most important thing anyone who reads Star Wars rumors or watches Star Wars videos or participates in the fandom at all, how many of us went and saw the Last Jedi? How many of us found our interpretations of those scenes to be different than the people who we know on Twitter? You know what I mean? You see where I'm going with this? Star Wars fans are going to bring in their own bias and wants and desires and misconceptions and all of this stuff, and it's going to amount to their sort of decoding of this encoded message. And when it comes to spoilers and stuff like that, we still have a slight game of telephone. Sometimes people will tell me something very directly. I feel like it's totally directly. I'll write the article and then they will be like, whoa, that's not what I meant. I meant like, and then you start to get these other details that come out and I'm like, well, okay, here we go. And then, so that's why my process on this stuff has always been kind of an evolving, like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I'm hearing, and trying to be transparent about that. So I hope this stuff, I really honestly do hope this stuff pans out. I can see this stuff being a strong film, or these components to be a strong film. But even when I take the totality of what I think I know, and I take the totality of what the internet thinks it knows, I really think that we have a lot of stuff to like fill in. And like even Jedi Paxis, when he did his big like kind of dump recently, he was like, he never said that was the whole movie. He never meant for it to be taken that way. But he was like, here's what I know, or here's most of what I know, and something like that. But it's really complicated, and I would urge people who follow spoilers to hear what's going on and go, okay, you know. It's like when you're dating somebody for the first time or early on, and you hear something that you don't like, but you're not willing to like go, hey, I'm just gonna walk. Kind of has to be like that. You have to be like, okay, I'm gonna fill this out and see, is that really what this is? Because, you know, I could tell you like the Force Awakens ending. I could tell you, you know, they struggle over the lightsaber and then it flies into Rey's hands and then she kicks his ass. Like, I could do that. But it's not the same as when, you know, Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are acting and John Williams is doing his little music and all that stuff, and the visual effects of the lightsaber and the snow and all of that, you know, kind of stuff all comes together. Like, that's honestly why I don't really mind spoilers, because I hear this stuff and I'm like, okay, so I can kind of see where it's going. And then when I see it, like, there's no cognitive dissonance. And that's the whole problem that we have with this, like, surprise culture, if you will, of no spoilers. I gotta be surprised. I can't know. It's my Christmas present. I can't open it, or it's gonna ruin Christmas. It doesn't ruin Christmas if the present doesn't suck. If the present sucks, then it does. But if you're expecting, you know, a freaking Lambo and you get a skateboard, that makes it harder just to appreciate the skateboard for what it is. Like, that's how I take spoilers. And that's how I think that people who follow spoilers should take this information, because whether it's me or Bestman Bulletin or Jedi Paxis or Star Wars Newsnet or Star Wars Underworld, you know, any of the great sites out there who I'm leaving out, if I am forgetting, I'm sorry. But like, all of it is going to be filtered through the source and their opinion. Sometimes the source is not even firsthand, but sometimes they are. And then they're going to relay that to the writer, and you know, so much can change and be lost. So, you know, I've seen both, where I think I've made something sound better than it actually ended up being, and people were let down, and where I underplayed it, and then people saw it, and it was better than what I described according to them. Like, both things can happen easily. But the one thing that is interesting and that keeps going on, or that we keep hearing, is that there is this flashback scene with a young Luke Skywalker and Leia training, and that it rolls into the next scene. And I kind of thought that in my last video, and I'm pretty sure I had actually heard that before. I'm pretty sure that had come up, but I didn't want to, you know, I didn't really have like a firm, you know, let's do this on that. And then Source saw the last video and said, hey, you know, yeah, Rey calls out to Leia and Master Leia, and that wakes her up, and then it brings us into the present tense of the story. So I think the opening could be really cool. I think it sounds rad. I hope it leaking doesn't make it like the Force Awakens floating hand thing, you know. But the Force Awakens floating hand thing was, I think, pretty rad. Like the hand, you know, like burned up in the atmosphere, and then you just had the saber falling and Naka picking it up. That was the original opening for the Force Awakens. But there was so much outcry. Well, the lightsaber would have burned up in the atmosphere, and just shit like that, where you're just like, really, guys? I mean, that's your takeaway from that opening? You know, honestly, I think it's still a better opening than the one we got. So hopefully this opening stays in place, but judging by the fact that they have to essentially de-age Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher back to like 1984, I don't see them just throwing it away, you know, on a whim. But yeah, anyways, it sounds cool. Let me know what you guys think. I've enjoyed the comments. Comments have actually been pretty cool for YouTube. On Making Star Wars, I turned them off. I just like, you just don't want to hear it, or just don't need to hear most people's opinions. But you guys have been pretty constructive and fun so far. And, you know, this is a mystery that as a community we kind of like to solve, and then go see the final thing and see what we got right, and also enjoy the film. So, yeah, so make sure you subscribe to Making Star Wars, this channel. Make sure you know, follow me on Twitter and all of that jazz, and read the article. The article usually has a little bit of different stuff. I try to like leave a little bit here and a little bit there, so that they kind of talk to each other slightly when I don't mess it up. One thing yesterday, I did change it in the article, but like I said, we had like a big day yesterday with a bunch of stuff going on, and I had to, I wrote the article, and I said that both lightsabers were blue when Luke's was green at the time. And that was just a faux pas, because I was, you know, concentrating on the fact that Leia's was supposed to be blue. And the Jedi Paxis leak says that Rey builds the lightsaber on Tatooine using the parts of Leia and Luke's saber, and when that happens, you know, she ignites it, it's yellow. It makes sense if you think about it. If she somehow did, like, you know, green and yellow, I mean, green and blue make yellow, so it makes sense that that would go that way, and it could be pretty cool. Wouldn't be the first yellow lightsaber in the series either. Those Jedi cops from the Clone Wars, you know, had them. Also, a rumor going around that Clone Wars is going to air on Disney Plus, and it's going to be in chronological order, which I actually don't like. Like, there's so much weak stuff in the chronological order up front. It's like, I kind of would rather the high quality stuff be up front to keep people watching. But so my whole advice to people is, if you've never watched it, stick with it, because it gets really, really good. But it's going to be really, really random in terms of quality and stuff like that at first. That said, thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. And if you guys keep liking these videos and watching them, I'll keep making them. And it's been fun doing it, so hopefully we can continue and take this all the way up to Mandalorian Season 2 and Rise of Skywalker and all of the fun Star Wars stuff coming out. So it's a pretty good time to be a Star Wars fan. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.